Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Pride Perspectives, a conversation with the community. This week has been fantastic because it's been all about our accepted students. And we congratulate you on behalf of the entire community, the brothers on campus, the brothers across the nation and the world. We congratulate you to be being a part of this community. And we hope to see you in September. That's our goal for everyone, is to come back and enjoy this campus. So this week has been, we've talked about active learning, we've talked about arts and athletics, we've talked about the support that's given to all students from the Center for Learning Achievement. Last night we delved into college counseling and the practicum for civic leadership. But we left the pièce de résistance, I don't even know how to say that, for Friday night, 7 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us. It's all about the vibrancy of student life at Trinity-Pawling. And we're gonna talk about our weekends. We're gonna talk about clubs and activities. We're gonna talk about all things outside the classroom, outside the athletic field. And we're going to dive into Padre Lennox is here to talk about our chapel program and what that means for our school and for thousands of alums that have come across this campus. So I'm JP Burlington, Director of Admission, class of 1995. And again, a pleasure to welcome you tonight. And what we're going to do is, before I introduce the panel and have them talk about who they are, just as a reminder, in our Zoom webinars, and I'm sure that you are all tired of these. I'm sure you're tired of looking at a screen, but at least for one more night with the Trinity-Pawling Admission Office, we're going to wrap your attention for the next, let's just say 55 minutes. But if you have a question, do not hesitate to put that into the Q&A box. We'll get to it. I know that some of you had questions when you registered, and we will get to those as well. But our hope tonight is that this will be a conversation amongst the six of us, and then that outside voice from you all when you ask your questions. If you happen to hear a really loud whizzing noise, I'm not even sure if that's the right terminology, but you can see it right over Mr. Keel's left hand shoulder. We are in the midst of one of the windiest days that I've experienced here at Trinity-Pawling. The flag is flying high, but there's a lot going on here. So I'm going to knock on wood and that the power is not going to go out, and we're going to be with you for the next 55 minutes or so. But let's get going. So Henry Hopkins, can you introduce yourself, please?
I can start us off. My name is Henry Hopkins. I am a junior on campus, which means that I'm the class of 2022. I am a boarder. I live in Hastings Dormitory. I'm a proctor there. I'm the proud leader of Random Acts of Kindness on campus. I'm a member of Real Life for Life. And as Mr. Keel knows, I'm a stud JV soccer goalie.
Absolutely. Fantastic. I mean, that's what we love to hear. Just active all over the place. Mikey O'Rourke.
So my name is Mikey O'Rourke. I'm also a junior on campus. This is my third year at Trinity-Pawling. So I'm also the class of 2022. I'm in baking club, outdoors club, and then fishing club and mountain biking. It's a club sport. That's what I did in the fall. Winter, I played some hockey. In the spring, I'm going to play some lacrosse. I'm a day student. I live in Wingdale, New York, so about 12 minutes north of campus. So glad that you can all be with us.
Thank you so much. Mr. Keel.
Yeah, hi, my name is Dutch Keel. I'm the Dean of Residential Life at Trinity-Pawling. This will be my 11th year. In addition to Dean of Residential Life, I teach AP Biology and coach a JV soccer team that's a little legendary.
Little is legendary. Don't downplay it.
It is legendary. Miss Naaman.
Thank you. I'm Suzanne Naaman. I'm the Director of Student Activities. This is my second year here at Trinity-Pawling. I teach chemistry and next year I will be the chair of the science department. I coach some soccer, I coach some tennis, and basically plan with the input of students what there is to do here on the weekends when classes and sports are over.
All right, and it's a lot. I know you work hard in what you do. So last but not least, Father Lennox.
Thank you, JP. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, indeed, it's so windy out here. Just got blown off my feet out there on a run this evening, but delighted to be with you this evening. I'm the chaplain of the school. I also teach philosophy, ethics, world religion. Next year, I'm going to be teaching a new course called eco-theology, which will incorporate kind of life with creation and the ethics around the stewardship of our environment. I help out with cross country and track and field. Enjoy doing that very much, and love being on this campus with the boys and all the families that participate in the life of this community. Grateful to be with you here this evening.
And Father Lennox, you happen to like cross country and track and field because you enjoy sitting in your house just watching television a lot?
100%. He does that all the time.
There's a problem with the pandemic and me. Is like sitting in this chair is a bit difficult, Mr. Burlington. Like a lot of people, it can be tough sitting on the screen. But no, I do love to run. It's been a life journey for me, and I try to get out and run every day, and I'll make it a kind of a practice of not only physical fitness but just sort of mental fitness. So
Absolutely.
I can be seen on this campus very often loping along, and I'm just trying not to get slower as I inch my way up the ladder. You know, someone told me recently I need reading glasses, so I'm trying to stave it off, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand, and it's great to see your kids running around campus with you and your wife. So, so you know, everyone, as I said, we're gonna talk a lot about, as the title suggests, the vibrancy of student life, and you know, at Trinity-Pawling, we give boys, in our opinion, what they need to flourish. Their ability to focus, the support on the community understands them, and even the freedom to evolve. At Trinity-Pawling, we give them an experience for students who are eager to discover who they are, pursue their passions, and participate in the life of a generous and adventurous community. And that's what we're here tonight to talk about. And as I said earlier, each of these panelists are going to talk a little bit about what they bring to the campus, and how their love of this community makes the love of the life of the students even better. And just so you know, we got on here at about 6:45. We hadn't seen Mikey and Henry in a couple weeks. And as with every time we come together, it's like time has not passed. We were laughing, we were smiling. We can't wait to get them back on campus next week from our spring break. But I'm going to start with Mr. Keel. I'm wondering if you could talk about, you know, this long list. The boys mentioned it earlier, but this long list of activities that our students can get involved in, opportunities for them to maybe challenge themselves, maybe in your 30 for 30 club that you have, maybe learn new skills. Mikey talked about the fishing club, but also build communities within the larger community. So, Mr. Keel, can you talk about our clubs and activities?
Sure. So every year we have an activity fair, and right beforehand, I reach out to faculty and I say, what activities do you want to offer? And they run a huge gamut. You know, we certainly have some that are more academically inclined. You have a math club. You have our school paper. You know, some years we're writing a science magazine that I've helped out with. Then you also have some that are more open to allowing students to pursue their passions. You know, Mikey was talking about like an outdoor club, a fishing club. Here's an area where it's like something that he's passionate about and really enjoys doing, and he can kind of further that. And then, you know, you have some that are just designed to be fun. You know, Mr. LaFontaine in the middle of a pandemic said, I like ice cream. Can I have an ice cream club? And I was like, 1,000%, please have an ice cream club. Please eat ice cream with the folks who are around you. Please do this. And, you know, we do ask every student participates in a club. And I think there's a lot of advantages to our clubs and activities. One is that, you know, it is a chance for folks to kind of try something new. It is so easy to just kind of fall into that. This is what I'm good at. This is what I do every day. And we really try and have folks branch out, try different things. I don't know whether Mikey was a big baker before, and I keep pointing at Mikey because I just remember your whole thing. My guess is probably you didn't do a lot of baking. My wife runs the baking club, and it is
You probably ate a lot.
yeah, well,
I do.
It's truly unbelievable. I only know when there's baking club because I, not this year, but in pre-pandemic years, walk into my house and there's 30 pairs of shoes in my entryway. And I'm like, I guess it's baking club tonight. And then I walk in and they're baking, and some folks are more hands-on and some folks are more hands-off until they're eating. But at the same time, like, it's a social event. They do learn something about baking, but also it's like to try something new. And I think that that's so valuable. I would say that, you know, our students who derive or pull the most out of our school are some of the folks who are in like 3, 4, 5 clubs, and it can become a burden. I don't encourage people to take too much, but at the same time, having some clubs is really good. You know, I did mention this on the intro, but I help out with the school newspaper, which, you know, there's a dozen kids writing articles every week. I help out with a 30 for 30 club, which came about only because a student said, I really like watching 30 for 30 documentaries. Can I make a club? And I said, absolutely. You have to find a leader. And they said, would you do it? I'm like, I like 30 for 30 documentaries. And so every couple of weeks we watch a 30 for 30 documentary. We talk about it. And then I work with an environmental club because that's something I'm passionate about. It's something I really care about, and have a group with like common interests. The other thing, and this is the piece that you don't always realize, is that with every club, there's a faculty advisor, and then there's a student leader. And I think that it's a real good way for younger folks who are really passionate about something, who might not be the most outgoing person, the person who's, you know, rah, out in front of everything, to find something that they care about, find a group of people who also care about it, and start to develop some of those leadership skills. And, you know, some of our clubs, again, faculty start them, and it's because it's something they're passionate about. But we have a lot of clubs that are because students had some interest in this, because students said, hey, will you help me with this club? And I think that it's I think it's an awesome thing that we do.
And I'll go straight to the guys, Henry or Mikey. I know we've heard about some of the clubs. Was there a club that you joined? Well, I mean, I know Mikey, I know outdoors fishing, so that was something but was there a club you joined that you might not have been interested in? Mikey just left us. We're going to go.
I guess it's just
Henry.
me then.
This is how we do it on these webinars. We just roll with the punches. So Henry.
Yeah. I joined Random Acts of Kindness Club at the beginning of this year. I was a tour guide before. I've been doing that all 3 years, and you know, that came to an abrupt end pretty fast with COVID. So I was looking for other things to do, and I approached Mrs. Harrell, who's the school nurse, and I was like, seems like a cool club. You know, I know how nice it is to, you know, be nice to people, and you know, having certain treats on campus, like my freshman year, Cheech and Peter Claro were a part of that. So they started doing some bacon stuff. So I approached her about joining the club, and you know, a lot of the guys left because they graduated. So she said, do you want to be the student leader of the club? So I naturally said yes. So I got a bunch of the guys on board. In fact, I think we have like 15, 16 members on campus, which in the club, which is crazy considering there were like 5 last year and the year before that. So it definitely opened my perspective to clubs, because I was so focused on admissions and what I could do, be a better tour guide. And I did Relay for Life before that.
Which I appreciate.
Thank you.
A very strong tour guide. So
thank you. Yeah. So I sort of changed my focus a little bit from prospective families and how can we get in more people, and to facilitating the needs of the student body, and how I can make people's lives or days a little bit brighter, especially with the masks every day.
Yeah.
You guys have done some cool things. What are some things you guys did this year? Can you remind us?
For Halloween, we gave out candy to all the faculty kids, and I think at the end of it, we had so much surplus because we bought so much to give out to the students. I had a little bit, not gonna lie. I think we did Valentine's Day because, at an all boys school, can't really have, female, participants on campus to, participate in Valentine's Day. So we all came out and we all pitched in to buy a bunch of little packets of Valentine's Day. We wrote little cards for everybody. So that was fun. And we also wrote, this was my favorite. We, since a lot of the guys were remote this year with being in China or wherever they are over the United States. So we sent out little postcards, Trinity-Pawling postcards, and wrote them a little handwritten note. About 10 of us did that, put them in envelopes, sent them out via the post office. And, I think we got some good responses. I got some pretty good emails from it, which is good. Hearing from guys that I don't really hear from.
That's awesome. And Father Lennox, I mean, that type of thing must, I would imagine, hit you in a right spot. Active Kindness Club, boys reaching out to each other and wishing them well. Can you talk a little bit about, I know that, introduce yourself, because I'm not sure we did that. Tell us a little bit about yourself, but also how long you've been here and what the impact of a club like that has meant for you, specifically in the chapel.
Well, yeah, I'm coming up at the end of my second year here at the school. I grew up at a school like this, so it's sort of home turf in some respects. But a club like the Random Acts of Kindness, I mean, what I think we've all recognized during this last year is it's hard not to be of service. It feels like have your kind of world curtailed so that you can't help is difficult. It kind of chafes against the human spirit. So the fact that has continued to exist is really positive. But when things are up and running and fully fleshed out, the idea is to, come alive around the concept that pushing outwards, in fact, nurtures the inside. So service to others, service to this community, service to the town of Pawling and beyond are quintessential features that make up the wholeness of not only our boys, but all of us. So our chapel life revolves in part around kind of opening the doors to understanding that life is more than sort of a view towards oneself, and that the self becomes richer when it starts to look outwards to acts of kindness, to acts of respecting the dignity of every human being, to acts of grace and joy and hope that alleviate some of the anxiety that comes with the world in which we're living. So on the one hand, we've seen a lot of that curtailed, but we've also learned that it's central to what we need and what we recognize as important in our lives, our daily existence, and our vocation to who we are as human beings.
Yeah. And I think, Mikey, before you drifted off to...
my power, went down. So then my internet shut down. So then
it's okay. It's all right. I'm sure you had something important to do. But Mike, we were talking about clubs and activities, and tell us about, we were before you went off and did something else. Fishing, outdoors, we know that's you. Mountain biking, that's a big part of your life. But has there been something else in your time at Trinity-Pawling that has kind of hit you in a different way, and you've experienced something that's I'm not saying life transforming, but just talk about that experience.
I would say, Bacon Club is like one of the other major clubs that continuously meets. So I've learned a lot from that, just different skills of baking, and then putting them, being able to use them. So last spring when we went into full online, we still had Bacon Club a couple of times, just like this. And so I had to like bake on my own, you know, there's no one guiding me. So I definitely learned how to bake a little bit better from that.
Surprised the house wasn't burned down.
What'd you say, Henry?
Surprised the house wasn't burned down.
Yeah, I'm a fairly skilled baker now.
You needed to be.
I've also learned fairly well how to lick bowls clean. I'm pretty good at that. That's because of Mr. Kellogg, though. Mr. Kellogg dared me to do that.
You've been
That is
doing
a
that since
skill.
freshman year.
Yeah. You're muted, Mr. Billington.
I think I'd know how to do this after 5 straight nights. But Ms. Naiman, once you introduce yourself, I'd love for you to talk about, again, your experience coming here. I know you've worked in schools a long time. And before we dive into, because I know that a big piece of why we're here is to talk about the weekends, but I'd love for you to talk first just about your experience coming here and being with the boys. And I have to say on a, well, I don't know, on a side of me that kind of goes into that true acts of kindness, the work you've done with our faculty kids, with our students, you know, for those of you who have walked around campus, who are on this call or who are watching this webinar in weeks to come, you will see the rocks painted on campus. So Ms. Naiman, just talk about your experience coming to Trinity-Pawling from your past education in your life, and just tell us a little bit about what it's meant to you.
Sure. So I attended private school for 6 years, and I was a day student at a school like Trinity-Pawling, except it was co-ed. So we had boarders, we had day students. Boarders often came home to my house for the weekend when they were allowed off campus. And what I remember from that time, and I started in the 7th grade and graduated, was really the impact that the teachers had. So there was always the one teacher who would stay at the gym just because he wasn't assigned there, there wasn't a duty, but he would stay there and kick a soccer ball with whoever was left while we were waiting for our parents to pick us up. And this was pre-cell phones. So you just waited till your parent showed up. And stuff like that was under the radar. They weren't doing it for recognition. They weren't doing it because they had to. They just did it because that's what they did. And I took that away with me. And Trinity-Pawling now is the 4th school where I've worked. 2 boarding schools, a day school, and now I'm back at a boarding school. And one of the things that drew me here when I came to interview was chapel. And we have chapel, we read from the Bible, we sing, be respectful. You may not be of this faith, but be respectful. And what I really, really appreciated was on the way out, the headmaster was standing by the door, shaking everybody's hand, looking you in the eye, shaking your hand and saying good morning. And that impressed me, because that said to me, this is really a community that cares about its members. And Mr. Burlington said, I like to get the faculty kids involved in things. And I think it's important because the students may not realize it, but the faculty kids really look up to them. And some of the faculty kids idolize the students. And to get them into doing something that the little kids are doing for the big kids, because the big kids do stuff for the little kids. But to get the little kids to say, hey, we're going to do this for the boys, they're all over it. And they love it. They absolutely love it. And I think that's really what community is all about, right? Henry lives in a dorm. Both of his dorm parents have children. He knows he may have to pick up the slack if his dorm parent on duty's child is having a bad night. I live in a dorm, and sometimes we hear the little 4-year-old twins screaming bloody murder. And I say to the boys in the dorm, don't wake the babies, don't wake the babies.
Yeah, you do it on East, right? Yeah.
Yes, I am in East.
Kirk's would not like it.
With Kirk's twins.
Yeah, Kirk's
And
would not like
just
that.
to see, we have a dog walking club. And boys will just be out during a free period walking a random dog. because they can do that, and it builds the community. So that's a lot of what I've tried to do with, especially during the pandemic, because pre-pandemic, we had dances with other schools, and Trinity-Pawling belongs to a consortium of all boys schools, all girls schools, and co-ed schools, day schools, boarding and day, the whole 9 yards. And each member school in the consortium hosts an activity each weekend that's open to all of the schools in the consortium. It may be a dance. It may be come see our theater production. It may be we're hosting a night at the bowling alley. Any of the schools want to join us, come to the bowling alley. So that's a really nice thing, because the students get to see students from other schools. And as Henry alluded to, we don't have girls on campus. So if there's an event at a girls' school, we get to see girls. We've also invited Westover, our sister school. Last year, we invited them to come for a Friday night football game. And one of our prefects, who was sort of my student activities prefect last year, very happily, with the help of some teachers that afternoon, got some cheerleading outfits together and went out and did a little cheerleading routine at halftime.
I was a music producer for that.
I was actually in that, Miss Naiman.
Were you?
Yeah, it was great.
Excellent. It was great. And it was great to see, it didn't matter who was there, right? You guys were going to do this. You're like, we're all in. We're going to do this, and this is going to be great.
It was great.
When there was nobody on campus last spring, I think I speak for all of the adults here, because we all live on campus. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we were really miserable. The first week was maybe, okay, this is kind of cool. It's nice and quiet. But after that, it was just, it's quiet. There's no noise. There's no people. There's no movement. There's no lacrosse game to watch. There's no tennis match to watch, or whatever it is. And really, that's why we're here. And that's why I think so many of us enjoy living here, is because of that outside of the classroom life, right? None of us, the boys don't define themselves as one person. I'm an athlete, or I'm an artist, or I'm a math student. But, and we don't either. We try to do as many things and get involved in as many things as possible. So during the pandemic and this year, we had to shift our gears a little bit. And instead of going out to a restaurant on a Saturday night or a Friday night, we had, okay, this is where we're going to order food from. We're going to do pizza tonight, and we'll do Buffalo Wild Wings tomorrow. You order, students, and we'll pick it up for you. And some of that was, pizza we do every week because everybody likes pizza. And some of the other things that we've done over the course of the winter were really because students sent me an email and said, hey, Ms. Naiman, I think it would be really cool if we could order from here. Can you check into that? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've tried to do what we can, because the boys can't get off campus right now. The boarders that are here are here. So in the fall, we had different activities for everybody on Saturday afternoons. Normally we have games on Saturdays, so we follow the prep school, boarding school model of games on Wednesdays and games on Saturdays predominantly. But since we didn't have games this year, we had activities. So one Saturday we had a quad Olympics where everybody was out on the quad. One Saturday we had softball. One Saturday we had a baseball game, and then our physics teacher was a softball pitcher in college, and she went out, took the mound, and we had a home run derby. And there was a line of boys ready to hit off of her until she threw one pitch, and then the line cut it in half. Mm-hmm. So, and we had food at a lot of those events as well, right?
Food always,
because food will attract.
Exactly.
Food attracts.
You put hamburgers on the email, and I didn't read the rest of it.
I agree with that.
So,
so we have my connection is wonky. We have a 18-hole, I think, for disc golf course on campus, and the discs are out, and almost every Sunday afternoon, there were students just out playing disc golf. There's a map of the course and people went out and played. So try to keep them active. Normally on a weekend, the students are here because we have games. Some students will leave Saturday night and be home on a Sunday in a non-pandemic year. But a lot of the students really stay here and go to the mall on Sunday, go to the movies on Sunday afternoon. We've taken students rock climbing, hiking. This fall, we took a bunch of students fishing up in Kent, I believe. So again, a lot of the activities are student driven. Can we do this? And I'm open to, let me see.
Yeah.
The answer might be no.
Yeah, sure. Well, Father Lennox, I'm gonna something that Miss Naiman talked about, but just about community in general, and I think everything we do at Trinity-Pawling is about the development of the whole student, and as she said, not just the artist, not just the athlete, and of course, not just the academic, but how, in your opinion, how does the community play in that? And how does maybe the work of we meet in the we meet as a community. This is one of the things I love about Trinity-Pawling is that we meet not pandemic, and we're hoping September everyone on this call we're going to be back as normal as we possibly can.
Please.
But one of the things I love about this place is that we meet together 8 times a week as a community. 4 meals, family style meals at lunch, and then a Monday in the theater, which you lead, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, which you also lead in the chapel. So again, I go back to student life has everything to do about community. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how Trinity-Pawling plays in that.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, being in a community requires work. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Being in a community requires work, and it requires everyone to do their little slice of good to make it work. And what happens, I think, in a community like Trinity-Pawling, where we eat together, we study together, we begin each day together with a chapel service or a morning meeting, is that you learn about what it means to exist and coexist together. And having that kind of opportunity sets the stage, I think, for a very powerful existence going forward, because you see so many iterations of so many different people, and you learn to work together, that by the time you've graduated from this school, you recognize what it means to actually exist and do well in community. And we all know a year into this that's what we yearn for. That's what our soul desires. So when we don't have it, we recognize the need for it. And one of the things I think Trinity-Pawling does so well is function healthily as a community, whereby everyone has an opportunity to not only share their gifts and their hopes, but to be who they believe they're designed to be. And when you have people operating like that, good things start to happen. And we see the manifestation of that in chapel life, in our meetings, in our athletics, in our artistic creations, in our plays, because the opportunity is there to kind of lower your guard and be who you're designed to be. And therefore, the community grows, the trust grows, and the strength in being together grows.
And I think something that's real interesting. And Henry, I remember having this exact conversation with you on the steps of Hastings, like in January, with you and Robbie and Michael. And I think that it's been really interesting to see when it's been taken away, like some of the community, just to like have some of the pieces where we can't be in the chapel, like right next to each other, crammed into the pews, 6 students in a pew, or at a table, and sometimes, you know, we do have our family style meals, and you sit down, and some tables you have for 3 weeks are just awesome, and it's so fun. But I remember, Henry, having this conversation with you where you're like, I don't think I appreciated it until it was gone. And when
I said you only miss things when they're gone, and I never thought I would say it, but I missed the waking up every morning, putting on a blazer, a tie, or whatever, and just going out there, because, you know, now we have, you know, since of the mask, we actually have a relaxed dress code, which makes mornings a lot easier, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable. Wake up a little bit later, but yeah, you wake up early, you throw some music on. My roommate in the past, we woke up at the same time, made sure he got up, made sure we did everything. And yeah, I felt like, you know, again, going to the family style meals where you just didn't like, you know, we get exposed to the community like that. Like my first week, I sat with a bunch of guys that, you know, ended up becoming some of my best friends in the senior class of that year. So you never know who you're going to meet at these things, and keeping an open mind, especially in chapel life. It's incredible, and I truly miss it, and I hope we can get back to it. Actually, I think we will get back to it next year.
And Mikey,
Henry, one of the images I have of you in my mind is when we came back in January, and I was heading over to East Dorm to say hi to the boys, and you and the other proctors in Hastings were sitting outside.
Yeah, we weren't out of
and just
quarantine
wait.
yet.
No,
So
I know, but you were waiting to greet the people arriving in your dorm. And you have the interesting position, right, of being a proctor with our youngest students. So you've really made that place, right? And you guys have been able to make that place a home, albeit sometimes challenging, for those younger students. And it was great to just see you guys were hanging out outside, because let's hang out outside and say hello to anybody who walks by.
We have game night too. That's a big deal. We play Uno. That's always really stressful. Gets wild. Mr. Davenport doesn't like the yelling past 11:30, so it gets crazy. I'll just say that.
And so I was gonna, you know, Mikey, I think as a day student, I think every school, and I've worked at a couple, and I think a lot of people on here have worked at a couple. That's always, for a predominantly boarding school, there's always that question of how do the day students get involved? And I know two of our dean of students, Josh Collins, a classmate of mine, was a day student. He came in as a sophomore, and spent 3 years here. And I remember him saying over time that he wished that he was more involved. After that, I always called him sort of the 9 to 5 day student. And Mikey, you're the 24/7 day student. And talk about how that evolution for you.
Yeah. So when I first started going to TP, I was definitely like the 9 to 5 student. Like, it's school, like, get me out of here as soon as I can. But then, like, sophomore year really clicked for me. Like, let me stay after and join some more clubs. Like, let me get into some stuff. So throughout the winter, we had a winter project. So my winter project was the pond renewal. So, like, just revamp the pond that we have on campus. So that really brought me, like, closer to like school, and brought me into school a lot more. Like, Saturdays, I was spending a lot more time there than I normally wished I used to. But, you know, now I'm glad that I did it. And during tours, people always ask, like, oh, you probably miss out a lot as a day student. And I always said, no, not really. But I never really had the true experience until this past winter of being a boarder and being a proctor of an entire floor as my first time boarding. And like, compared to a day student, I miss some stuff, but not a lot of stuff to really, like, be like, wow, like, I should really, like, consider boarding a lot more than I have. I really don't think I miss out on that much. I definitely miss out on, like Henry said, like, game night, stuff like that. I miss out on. I miss the boys being boys at night. But being a day student, you can still kind of do that. In a normal year, you can kind of do that. But with pandemic, you can't really go into the other dorm.
You've slept over though. I remember like super clean freshman year.
Yeah,
definitely. You've been around. Like,
yeah. I've been around the block a couple of times. Each dorm. I have been paid to clean rooms for Super Clean, Mr. Keel. I will not lie.
I haven't paid. I should have,
Seamus,
but I
I
didn't.
made a pretty penny from Seamus. That was great.
Freshman year, that was hilarious.
Did you see Mr. Keel's face?
Yeah, he was so devastated. He was so devastated. That's why I said it. That's why I said it. Exactly why I said it.
For a little bit of context, 3 times a year we get to do one of my favorite events, and that is
It is your
all
favorite.
school super clean, where everyone completely cleans the room, moves the furniture, cleans under their desk, clean on the whole thing. We have weekly super clean, but this is really a big event. I get very, very excited for this event. Everyone knows I get very excited for it. There's prizes.
You announce it 3 weeks before it goes on.
I get
agree.
very excited.
He's already planning.
Mikey, to hear that you have been paid. You're the super clean ringer. I did not know that until this moment.
You could
Yeah.
have paid so many other people, but they chose me.
Mr. Keel, I would, both these guys have talked about Proctors and the opportunity to lead others. We talked about that Monday night with Mr. Fideli and the ropes course, but can you talk a little bit more about the opportunity for some of our juniors and of course our seniors to really take that opportunity to lead the younger boys?
Absolutely. So we have, several positions that are like formal leadership positions. And every spring, we actually just start, both these gentlemen were in our meeting when we started this, they kind of apply for the positions that we have. We have a group of prefects, which are elected by the entire community. Students and faculty elect these individuals to kind of be the leaders of our school. Beyond that, we have a group selected by the Dean of Students and myself, the Dean's Advisory Council members, who we think really have a lot of really good skills in pulling things together, are very good leaders that we think really can step up to the plate and help the community. And then we have a set of dorm proctors. And for a student who is a sophomore and rising to be a junior, so this would be like Henry last year, he applied to be a dorm proctor. And that role is kind of analogous to like the RA in college, except, Henry said, I'd love to be the RA for 8th graders. So that was a bold choice on your part, Henry. And there's several parts to that job. It's hard. You have to be able to say to a peer, a friend sometimes, like, no, we can't do that. That's not the right thing. You need to locate the young man who maybe is homesick because he's away from home for the first time and make sure that he's okay. Occasionally there are individuals who have disagreements, and you have to know when to like step in and break those things apart and pull it apart. And really, like, it's not easy, and we don't expect a perfect work. Like it's impossible, but it's an experience to be able to be like, okay, how do I get this group of people to accomplish something or become a better community, better than the individual components, the individual people who make it up. And those are, some of our best proctors. We do have some, I don't know if anyone's postgraduate, but I reach out to admissions before in the summer, and I say, hey, who are some postgraduates who you feel would be really good leaders in our community, would be really good proctors? Because I think that that's also a good experience. And some of those folks have been phenomenal individuals, have really bought in. And some of our, oftentimes our juniors are going to be proctors in a dorm with either 8th graders, 9th graders, or 10th graders. And then our seniors are more likely. And it's not a perfect thing, but that's usually how it ends up. And I think it's a really good experience. And, I've said this to a lot of people, but one of the parts of this leadership program is writing an essay. And sometimes it's like, who is like a leadership model or someone you admire? And the thing that's so amazing is how many times I read essays about students who graduated and were proctors to a younger group of people. It kind of like pays itself forward. You can really make a big impact, and you can learn what works, because we're all trying to learn how to be better leaders, how to know when to lead, when to follow, how to put ourselves into someone else's shoes. And
that's a huge impact for sure. Like I still look back on Stephen Willie and Matt Carroll. Big shout out to them. People sometimes think that their actions don't matter. I remember almost every sort of season, every sort of night that I had with them. And being a proctor now, it kind of takes you back a little bit, and it really makes you think about your actions and how you can impact someone's day, night, and or even experience.
Well, and I remember, being in that in a similar role. Henry, I did not have eighth graders, but I had sophomores.
You didn't miss out. You definitely didn't miss out.
But I had sophomores, and it's a big deal when you're a 17, 18-year-old. There is a lot of feedback, so I apologize for that. But it's a big deal when you're leading a group of people. And I think part of that has a lot to do with cultivating a powerful work ethic. I mean, I think that's something that we've done at Trinity-Pawling for a long time. And I think any one of you can respond to this, but we give students, as we all know, we give students regular feedback, not only on their academic world, but also their level of engagement. And that, as we've talked about, that's their clubs, their activities, athletics, the work in their dorm. And I think all that process leads them to reflect on their motivation. And I'm sure Henry and Mikey, you know that. I mean, the effort grades come out, and you're always talking about with your advisor, your coaches, about that. And it goes back to this work. It discovers what great leadership is all about. And I don't know if faculty want to chime in, or Mikey and Henry, but Trinity-Pawling is all about hard work. And again, there's a lot of different areas that goes into academic, athletic, the dorm. But please, anybody chime in there. I mean, I think that's what makes a Trinity-Pawling alum a unique individual. Because for a long time, since the days of Dr. Gamage, the conversation has been all about character, citizenship, leadership, and effort. So,
Mikey, do you want to talk about Mr. Tieford's class?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about this in general. So coming in as a freshman from my old school, I always thought like I did decent on effort, like I always, tried, a little bit, to get my decent grade. And I came to TP, and reality hit pretty quick, like grade wise, and then seeing what my effort was next to that. And it really it really shows you like, wow, I can do better than this, so and then you compare yourself to your friends in your class, because who's truly doing better. And I always compare myself to someone above me. So Robbie Accomando, pretty well student. I always compare myself to him effort wise, because I know he's always up there in high ones. So
I don't think he's gotten to.
Yeah. So I always try to compare myself to be better, and then look at my effort grades and say, well, I can definitely do more there. I'm doing pretty good here. And it really and as soon as you get the effort grade up, your grade goes up with it. So if you had an 80 and a 3 at one point, and then you put in more effort and you have a 2, you're probably going to go up to an 85, 90 at some point. So that's always really good to know in the back of your mind. I can definitely put in more effort and get a higher grade out of it,
Absolutely. I feel like that comes we have a teacher here who I think literally has done everything in the world twice. His name's Mr. Tieford, and he bases the class not just it's definitely material retention, but it's also we have 2-day long quizzes where we literally sit down, and it's probably it's the hardest questions ever about a book. You actually have to go back and find the sentence in the book to answer it. I have a 500-page book, and we sit there for 2 days, and I was there for 3 days once, where everybody else was just doing something else. They were waiting for me to finish, and Mr. Tieford finally pulled me aside at the end of it. He's like, "Why are you taking so long?" I was like, "I'm not losing a point because you're going to tell me the answer if I stay here long." And persistence was key there. So again, it's all about learning hard work and what works for you, because I'm not a person that can look at a textbook once and figure everything out. I spend a lot of time on homework, and it helps a lot, just on life. And, with the college application process coming up, it's definitely great.
Absolutely, Henry. And Mr. Keel, of the faculty on this call, you've been here the longest, and you've seen a lot of boys come through the school, not only as a teacher, but more specifically as Dean of Residential Life. Almost every boy has passed through your vision. Talk about the progress that boys make here at Trinity-Pawling, and whether it's coming in and just being a high flyer immediately, or coming in and just needing a little bit more hand-holding. What's that experience been like?
I think that, yeah, and I think you hit on some of those pieces. Like, every individual is coming in at a different place, and everyone has their own gifts and talents, as we hear sometimes in our chapel, and it's really providing the opportunities for individuals to showcase those gifts and talents. And some individuals need more structure. They need more scaffolding in the beginning to kind of find their best selves. Other folks just need some slight guide rails when they make mistakes. I think that we do a really good job of providing a lot of opportunities for people to try and see how good they are and what they can do. And I'm a huge proponent of, we learn a lot from our mistakes. I oftentimes talk about failing forward. I think that's a real important lesson for everybody. And there will always be setbacks. I think that the thing that distinguishes this school, and I talk to a lot of colleagues at other places, like, when you fall, there are people there to help pick you back up, and you have to do the work. You have to have the character, the words that were perseverance, resiliency, the internal fortitude, the work ethic to pull yourself out. But I know that as a community that we all circle around when someone needs help and someone's kind of had a down one. And I think it happens across the board. It happens in sports teams. It happens with grades. It happens in the dorm. It happens, your peers will pick you up. People will be there to help you. And is the thing that I find just, you were talking about what you like about Trinity-Pawling. That's one of the things that I find just incredibly endearing and exceptional, is that as a community, people will be there when you stumble, and they'll be there to help you out.
Yeah, and that's as we get to the 8 o'clock hour, and as I always promise, right about this time, that we will not go over the 8 o'clock hour, because we've been on our computers too much during the day. But Ms. Naiman, I have a question for you, and I'd also like Father Lennox to chime in here.
Please.
What, as two faculty members that have been here kind of the least amount of time, what excites you about either A, Trinity-Pawling, or B, the future of Trinity-Pawling? And Ms. Naiman, I'll let you go.
Oh, thanks. That's an interesting question, and I think the rigor of the curriculum and the rigor of the schedule is really good for the boys. And Henry alluded before to having to get up and put on a tie and put on a jacket, and I really like that. I really like that, because it shows that you're you're sort of outwardly being serious about where you're going. You're going to school, you're going to do something important. But I think also we recognize that there's wiggle room here and there, right? And we have to wiggle, maybe you're going to go outside to the pond to collect dirt and water samples, and okay, we'll leave the jackets and ties in the classroom because you don't want to get your jacket and tie all muddy, because it might be your only jacket. And I think that kind of wiggle room within the system that we have it excites me. And getting back to family style lunches excites me, because I don't think well, 2/3 of last year when we were actually having family style lunches, I don't think there was one day at lunch where I had a conversation with either a colleague or a student at the lunch table that had anything to do with school. Nothing whatsoever. We talked sports, we talked news, we talked movies, we talked, what are you binge watching on TV? I had a lot of video games explained to me. I don't understand any of them. And I like that because it shows me that there are people that have interests that I don't know about, and I get to show them stuff too. And that they don't, Henry Hopkins was in my GCC group this winter, and I think he almost fell out of his chair when I told him the group that I was up at 7 o'clock this morning and I had already done my kickboxing. And
That was crazy because like I had
they
a tea
didn't believe
time
me.
like after that. That was crazy.
Right. And I said, I tap maple trees. And they said, yeah, we believe that. We have no problem believing that you tap your own maple trees, but we can't see you kickboxing.
Yep.
So stuff like that. And just those conversations that are human.
Absolutely. Yep.
Also, like to add, best GCC group by far.
Absolutely. Winners don't quote me.
Win.
Don't quote me.
Actual winners. Get Mr. Meat on here. Invite him. We're the winners. No big deal.
Father Lennox, we got a couple minutes left, but I'd love to hear you talk about, there's a lot, I'm sure, as we move, as Mr. Taylor would say, as we move across this bridge. But I'll ask you the same question. What excites you about the future of Trinity-Pawling?
Well, I think my most honest answer is that I'm excited about being amidst these young guys who promise a good future for all of us. I come home every day from work and I'll be explaining to my wife and kids a certain boy, and they'll say, well, we don't know that guy. And my categorical response is, oh, they're a great kid. You got to get to know this kid. This is a great guy. So I'm incredibly excited not only to be in the midst of that sort of energy, but one of the things I note about our students is they seem to be really happy to be here as well. And that leads to not only a great community, but I think it leads to a promising future for all of us when you can kind of foster that sort of energy. But I think our future's in good hands with this next generation. So that's what excites me about being here and about the future as well.
Thank you. And I think that's, something that we've been lucky this year. For those who went remote for whatever reason, I mean, that's okay. But we were here. Henry and Mikey were here, and they're coming back. Are you guys tomorrow, Sunday, next week?
I'm Sunday. Mikey, are you going back to being a
I am a day student.
Coming back strong every day.
Yes, I will be driving my truck to school every day.
He's
the four-cylinder.
But we're excited that everybody's coming back who can come back this coming week. And that just goes back to community. These boys are ecstatic that they're going to school, they're playing sports this spring, and just being a part of this community. We've done a lot of great things to allow us to do that. The boys have been tremendous in allowing us to do that. And it's exciting to know that our spring could be as normal as it can be. And so with that said, for those on the call, for those who are listening in on this recorded video a couple weeks down the line, please get in touch with us. If you have any questions, if you'd like to talk to one of the boys, I know that they, especially these two guys, big admissions volunteers, but also any faculty member, do not hesitate to get in touch with us. And once again, on behalf of the entire Trinity-Pawling community, congratulations on your acceptance. Just this one thing is bringing you a part of the brotherhood. But boy, would we love for you to be a part of the brotherhood come September. And if there's anything we can do to make that happen, let us know. And as always, we hope that you're safe. We hope that you're healthy and that you have a fantastic spring. And from all of us here, have a great night. Have a great weekend. And thank you to the panelists and thank you for coming. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.